And welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about cybersecurity and AI. We have our special guest, David Luchi, walking us through this topic. And just back to what I was saying before, I had a meeting with a friend who's a bit of a guru in this space this morning, and the things he showed me, it just blew my mind completely. And something I realized, some more people joining. Yeah, something I realized is it's no longer a limitation on AI. It's a limitation on what you can come up with. What can I do with AI, right? As opposed to what can AI do what I needed to do? Like, I think that's no longer the problem. So moving on with the presentation, quick intro. So my name is Adri Leite. I've been hosting these sessions for the past 4 or 5 months, every second week. David, do you want to briefly introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, sure. My name is David Luchi, Head of Information Security for Flybuys. Actually, starting on Monday. So from Monday onwards, Head of Security at Flybuys. And yeah, being really passionate about AI and tech. I'll go a little bit deeper on that later on. So for me, a big part of my job now is try to merge AI and cybersecurity and get something good out of it, because the cyber criminals are doing that as well. So we need to catch up. So that's pretty much what I've been doing on my 9 to 5.
Thank you, David. Just on that topic, I got a series of emails the past 2-3 days coming from Microsoft and telling me you've been granted a bonus of 600 AUD for research purposes and blah, blah, blah. And I confess, for the first time in a very long time, I'm like, is this real or not? So my spider sense told me, don't click on this link. And I didn't. I just reported it. But I was like, am I throwing away $600? But then I got another one from Visa and another one from uh, an Australian university, and they read exactly the same, but like no spelling mistakes, nothing. It's just getting to a point where even seasoned security professionals might stop and think twice before they proceed with an email.
Yeah.
A bit of house rules. Since we're a group, let's keep the mics muted. Raise your hand to speak. We'll follow the order. Recording and posting on YouTube for those who cannot be with us here live. English only. Don't be shy. We're not here to judge. We're here to learn. If you don't feel comfortable speaking, send your question via chat. And as usual, let's make this fun. So before the very start of what Dave is going to present, can I ask you all to scan that code so that you can answer a few questions before we all start? And once you do, can you tell us, are you using AI for or at work?
By the way, while we wait for those votes, have you seen a recent research that was released saying, like, I don't remember exactly the numbers, but it was something like 60-something% of CISOs are already using or approving use of AI in their companies, and 70-something% people responded that even if the company blocked, they will use it anyways.
No surprises there, right? No surprises. So
Yeah.
I personally think the first reaction is let's block it, because I don't know what data people are pumping into it. But upon catching our breath and thinking a bit better about it, the best answer is how can we let people use it in and make informed decisions about it, as opposed to blocking it, right? So we got quite a few people saying yes. So right
pretty
now
much the same ratio.
Yeah, so it's going up actually. So 5 people saying yes, 1 person saying no, but it does not surprise me at all. Let me jump to the next question around AI. So, oops, what AI tools do you use either for work or personal use? There are a couple of options there, but if the option you're using is not there, just choose others. I'm guessing the biggest majority would be ChatGPT, unless I'm proven wrong.
Maybe Copilot. Sometimes you get it out of the box.
Copilot is, yeah. So two people using ChatGPT, one using Copilot, and two are using others. Three for ChatGPT. I'm not going to vote. Don't want to skew the results, but yeah, not surprised that ChatGPT comes in first. Awesome. I think that gives us a good view that people are indeed sorry, using apologies, AI for work. So, David, how AI is actually helping security teams? I hand it over to you.
Cool, thank you. So before jumping into that, a few things I'd like to go back and just to give you an idea of where do I came from and how I am involved in all this. So I've been playing. I always loved the idea of AI, and I grown up watching and reading sci-fi and comic books. So they have all those kind of like HAL 9000, all those super intelligent AIs and robots and things from Isaac Asimov. And being a very, very lazy person, I always wanted someone or something to help me in doing my things, especially those very annoying chores that no one really like to do. So I looked everywhere and this technology didn't exist. And I said, like, I will study really hard and maybe, hopefully, in my lifetime, I'll be able to at least try to make it happen, try to work on it. So decided to go to IT, ended up in security. And when I was graduating from my bachelor's degree, um, around 2015, so not that long ago, but almost a decade ago. Uh, so when I graduated at uni, my undergrad thesis was on machine learning and data models. Way before people started calling AI, way before AI was cool. Machine learning and deep learning and all this was a very technical area, extremely hard. And the people that I know me knows that I'm horrible in coding in general. So it was an extra challenging for me. But I decided to put forward a research thesis saying, maybe can we use these machine learning models to identify phishing, identify if the website is phishing or if it's a real one. Especially because at the time I was working in a company doing threat intel and threat monitoring, and every other day my job was to go through a list of around 2 million URLs, clicking each one of them, and then just looking at the website to see if it's real or not. So I was using human effort and human time in just like clicking, look at the image, look at the website, closing, go to the next one, clicking. So that was my job for a day in that company. And I said, like, that's probably ways to make this more useful and more like less effort for me, because at the end of the day, I'm still that same lazy person. So there's probably a better way, easier way to do that. So we started playing around with those web frameworks for automation, like Selenium and a few other things. And then we discovered, yes, we can automate a lot of it. We can make all the clicking automatic, and we just look at the images and the websites keep flashing and we're saying like yes or no. And then they said, like, what if we replace the human looking to something else? And then this is how my undergrad thesis started. Today, there is a company called Abnormal Security. They do exactly what I've had in my research paper. The company was founded 1 year after my presentation. That doesn't mean anything, but I lost the opportunity of creating a company worth, I think, $400 million. But I decided to
I
come to
know the
Australia.
feeling. I invented Facebook before Facebook.
Yeah, so one of those stories. But I do have the research paper, and was I received the Brazilian Computer Society best paper of the year award or something like that. So yeah, I've been playing with that since then, and I've been crazy impressed of how things evolved so fast, and I'll be able to see it in my lifetime, all the things that I imagined and dreamed of as a kid. So this is awesome. So going back now to what we are now and what we can do now. So the whole idea, everyone is talking about, oh, secure AI, it's going to replace jobs. You will replace jobs in security as well. Maybe, maybe not. Another way to look at it, it could be just augment your capabilities and remove all the legwork. Like in my research thesis, I had to do a lot of clicking and just looking at websites. We can probably reduce all this time and put an AI doing those things. And this presentation will show you some examples of where we can play with that. The thing is, we shouldn't have AI. One second, we'll get to your question. We shouldn't look at this like one big AI that knows everything and controls everything. The idea is let's create small AIs, each one specialized in one thing. They will be pretty good in one very specific thing, and we humans, we do what AIs cannot do at the moment, which is all the strategic thinking, all the problem solving, communications, all the creativity that we still don't really know for sure how it works. So the idea is use them in partnership. AI does what it does best, better than us, and we do what we can still do, like the thinking, like what Adri mentioned before. The limits is your imagination and your creativity. AI can do it probably. It's just how much you are willing to dedicate time and make it happen, and sometimes money, because AIs run on GPUs and GPUs are quite expensive. Over to you, Adri.
Sure. I just wanted to add something to it. So I was having a philosophical conversation with a friend about this topic, and we asked ourselves the question, is my job going to be replaced by AI? And the answer we came up with is no, your job is not going to be replaced by AI. Your job is going to be replaced by someone who knows how to use AI, right?
Exactly.
So for most of you who are starting your journey in cyber, it's something that you need to learn about as soon as you can. Like start learning about AI, how to use it, because that's what's going to give you the edge over all the professionals. So don't think that the cybersecurity profession is going to go away. Of course, there might be some parts of the role or some roles that might phase out. Let's say, uh, don't quote me on that, but let's say pen testing. If you can fully automate a pen test process, so the role of a pen test, the doer might go away. However, you still need that person that sits behind the screen to judge, right? To make a decision on the outcome. So your job is not going to be, or our job is not going to be replaced by AI, but by people who know how to use AI. Sorry, David,
Yes.
carry on.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, you can go to the next slide, please. So I have here a bunch of use cases that some I've done it myself, some is in my bucket list to do as soon as I can, and some I've seen in presentations, in research papers, and things like that. But before going to them, one thing that kind of works pretty much what Adri just said, and why it's so exciting to be learning and playing with AI at the moment. No one really knows how this thing works for sure. Like the technology is evolving, and we are playing with it to figure out the limits and what it can do as it moves. So it's not like a standard field where everything is established. And an interesting analogy and the same opening that I've seen also work here. So the other day, don't ask why, but I was watching a lecture of introduction on quantum physics, and the professor came to the stand and started saying, "No one knows anything about quantum physics. I don't know it. You don't know it, but I do understand it. So I'll pass that to you, and you continue passing this information forward. One day it will hit someone that actually knows the answer, and then we're going to figure out what it is. So the same idea pretty much works for AI, especially in cybersecurity. We are still kind of going in the dark, trying to figure out what we can do. And the first one that discovers will go back and loop us in on what he can do. So yeah, let's go to some practical examples of what I've seen working. Next one, please. So this one I've done myself. For now, is just and some of those could be business ideas. So if you have more time than me, go ahead, create a company, and I probably will subscribe to your platform. So if you see any really interesting things that I say that doesn't exist at the moment, go forward and try to create before someone else will. And yeah, like I said before, you will hit someone that knows what they're doing, and then we all benefit from this. So this one is just a POC at the moment. So we all have to do in our big enterprises mainly those boring compliance training every year that people don't really pay attention. They just go like move forward or next, finish. So what's the point of having those training? It's just like a checkbox exercise. No one really pays attention because it's boring as hell. And it's there just to check a box at the end of the day. So my idea was like, how can I make this in something that people would actually watch? So I've done some experiments on my own social media profiles on how to create engaging videos and doing like a kind of like how influencers do it. I try to understand how that works. And then I documented everything and pasted on ChatGPT or any other tool. And I asked them, here's what I learned on how content is created. Instead of just asking, give me an engaging content, I add more information with my own experience or how it works. Plus, here is the very boring training that I have to do every year on work, and no one really pays attention. Combine those two and create a script of something that is actually cool and people want to see it. Maybe put camera angles, maybe put what objects should be in the scene, the language, the narrative, the storytelling, it's all in here. Combine those two, and then I got a script. I collect that script, and I went to a tool called 11 Labs. So 11 Labs, they generate audio from text, and it's extremely precise. It doesn't have emotion, but I saw that last week there was a company that released a similar tool that has emotion, and it's scary because like you can see when someone is speaking, if it's like a full like monotone and no difference. This is pretty much what AI is doing. If you really pay attention, you can distinguish that from humans, but this new tool, it's not possible anymore. So I generated the whole script. I posted on 11 Labs. I got a really beautiful audio narration of that presentation. And then I collected the presentation and put in another AI called Gamma. AI builds beautiful slides like this one you are seeing right now. And then I went to the Synthesia, which is this one, and then generated an avatar to narrate and present the slides. So if you watch that video, it still looks slightly robotic. It's in the uncanny valley still. You can see that something is off and is not really human. But we are just one step away to make that disappear. And it's a very cool, very engaging video on how to do security awareness training. And once I had the whole pipeline kind of built, it takes me seconds to generate another one of those. So if the company asks, now let's do a training on MFA, I can simply do the same thing. I go to the original input and say like, redo everything you've done, but now with the context of using MFA. And then the whole machine kind of moves and I get a video at the end. Adri, you had your hand up.
Yeah. So I actually watched a demo on this platform this morning, as I mentioned. And not only that, but you can also have the video in different languages, right? So it's basically you yourself speaking Russian, speaking Catalan, right? With your own voice tone and your accent and everything. And I'm like, no way, right? So like, I wouldn't be able to pick up the nuances and difference, but I was shocked. Sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead, David.
it's quite scary. But yeah, it's exciting. So if we can use that for good, it's very exciting. Yeah, move on to the next one. So here's a bunch of different AI tools and projects that I've seen in industry. Some I used myself, some they are in my bucket list. So how can we like help our security people? We usually, I have never heard anyone saying that they have enough security people in their teams. So we are always racing against the clock to do as much as we can. So how can we use AI in specific places, as I said before, to help us to get to the most important stuff first and as fast as possible, get them out of the way, and then move down the order. So there are nowadays, this is very straightforward, Slack bots. They're reading threads, reading Slack channel. If someone posts saying like, oh, in an engineering channel, for example, can someone approve my PR to the main branch for the new feature that we are releasing next week? AI could understand that and grab the context and send a notification to the security team saying like, just a reminder, there's a new release coming next week. Are you guys across it? Is everything okay? So there are projects. I think we've seen a presentation from OpenAI, from the actual security team in OpenAI, and they are using a chatbot in their Slack channel doing this, and it's really impressive how cool and how precise it can get. Also, a lot of CNAPP tools can do flag on high-risk modifications in systems, but it's not just like a vulnerability scan. A good example will be CNAPP tools. So CNAPP stands for Cloud Native Application Protection Platform, I think. Tools like Wiz, Orca Security, and Palo Alto Prisma Cloud. They can do, for example, they can see the entire environment, and they can see how each resource interacts with each other. So, for example, you have an S3 bucket that it's only internal, no one can access. It's only for internal, like transactional information, for example. But is accessed by a container in AWS. That container can be, it's also talking with a server in an EC2, and an EC2 has a user associated with that. Someone misconfigured that user and changed to a star, which means anyone in the internet can access that specific EC2 instance. But then how do I know that my S3 bucket is in risk? Because these kind of tools, they have an entire context of the environment, and they say like, now, because anyone can access this machine, they can figure out how to get to the container, and from the container, they can get to the S3 bucket. Really impressive stuff. I used both, all three actually. I used Prisma, Orca, and Wiz in the past. They are all incredible tools, and it's some of them, they have like natural language and their own chatbots, so you can actually talk with the platform and asking like, which resources I'm not seeing that have public access, or how many accounts am I sharing my AWS account with? So you can ask some questions, like random questions, and then you figure out and build a context around this, and then look in your environment. So it works similar to threat intelligence, threat hunting sort of thing, but in the cloud environment, and focused with like an AI understanding the context of your business, and also understanding where where your tier one critical systems are, and you say like, oh, this system was connected to this thing. This is critical. This is not. So if anything happens with this, the risk of this specific system will be higher because it connects to our crown jewels. So really impressive stuff. Have a look at those tools that I mentioned. They can do. They are already started using AI, and they are doing some really great progress. Yes, Adri?
Yeah, just jumping in here with the flag significant changes. So if you guys are familiar with PCI DSS, one of the requirements says you need to re-pen test your environment upon any significant changes to it. What is a significant change, right? How do you quantify if a change that you made to a system requires a new pen test? So if you put that change through an AI and basically ask AI, properly trained against cybersecurity or on cybersecurity, and you say, is this change touching upon any security systems or controls? Is it weakening any of my systems or controls? And if it spits out a response which is yes, therefore you need to pen test the system. But before, it was more about a judgment, like I would say a guesswork, right? So I don't think this change is big enough. Therefore, we don't need to pen test this particular component. But by using AI, I think now it's a bit more tangible, right? So yes, you've made changes, you changed access control, you made changes to access control, or you made changes to authentication, authorization, logging. Therefore, you need a new pen test being done. So very, very insightful, David. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, next slide, please. Cool. So I think this one is also from the cybersecurity team at OpenAI. So they demoed a chatbot. I think it was in DEF CON or Black Hat in one of those conferences a couple of years ago. They demo a chatbot that, again, it's connected to their Slack channels and their other communication channels. And you all worked in entry-level security and infrastructure or like systems admin kind of positions. You get hammered on Slack or Teams or anywhere with users with random questions, common questions, like all the time. And we don't realize how much time we waste by stopping what we are doing, context switching, understanding what the hell went wrong in that specific user laptop or whatever, give them the answer, and then go back and try to continue working on your work for the next 5 minutes, and then someone else will come asking something different. So they created these chatbots that has entire access with their chat history and their Confluence pages. And when a user asks security for something specific, the chatbot will start a conversation with that person, try to understand what went wrong, and then solve the issue, because they saw that a very big number, I don't remember the exact number, but a very big number percentage was just random questions that an AI could answer with pretty good accuracy now. So they build that bot, and the bot kind of understands the context, understand where the users come from. Sometimes they provide links. They can also, because they see the whole chat, they see, oh, another user already asked this, or is the same problem related with that user. So it can combine those things and generate more insights. And also human escalation. So if it gets to a point that the AI will say like, oh, this, it's now critical enough, I cannot advise on this anymore, open a ticket automatically in the queue for an actual human engineer to jump in. Another really cool example of something very similar to this, it was released a few months ago by Salesforce. It's called Salesforce Einstein for customer service and call centers. So when you call, they have their entire knowledge base in there, and the chatbot doesn't chat with the customer calling. It's a support to the analyst receiving the call. And as the user explains the problem, they have the chatbot populating with the knowledge base articles that are related with users talking about, or specific cases that were closed with the same kind of solution. So it just auto-populates. When they start engaging in the conversation, they already know exactly what happened, and a good idea on how to solve the problem for the user. Pretty cool stuff. I've seen that tool in the past, and it's really impressive. Yes, Adri?
So I think it's fair to say if you're a call center agent, there is a risk you might lose your job.
Yeah, just wait. The AI voice with emotions get a little bit cheaper, and maybe probably
Yeah, yeah.
it becomes a
Sounds like it. Sorry.
yeah, cool. Yeah, that's pretty much on this one. Moving on to the next. This one I read somewhere. I think was on Bug Crowd, if I remember correctly. So I was investigating in the recent past for creating a bug bounty program. And even the people that work at those companies, HackerOne, BugCrowd, and things like that, one of their sales pitch is support with the overloads that comes with bug bounties. So when you open, this is what I discovered recently, when you open a bug bounty program, you'll be hammered with a bunch of people trying to find anything in your website. And as soon as anything goes off by a millimeter, like 100 pixels, they will submit this as a bug to like participate in the program. And then humans have to go through thousands and thousands of those things, and pretty much the same what I was doing in the past, like with phishing, like looking all of them and seeing like, is this real? Is this critical? What do I do with this? How can I reproduce and things like that? Is it valid? Is it in scope? So there's a lot of things similar to the example that Adri was mentioned in the beginning as well with the pen test. There's still a lot to be done. Even if you don't do the testing and the actual technical check yourself, you still need to figure out the output and what to do with that. So they found out 4 main areas where AI can help. So on the submission itself, they can filter the submission. From there, they can separate in what kind of in buckets. So this is critical. This deserves a bounty. This is probably not reproducible. This is out of scope. Things like that. They help with the whole prioritization, organizing vulnerabilities, kind of like doing like a draft of like a CVE report, for example. And then it goes to the human to review all those previous steps. And then the human, because it's using large language model on the back end, it can chat back with that report and then continue building more context and understanding from that. Yeah, I think it's pretty much on this one. I haven't had the opportunity to use, but I think by now all those big bug bounty companies, they probably have some of those things already integrated in their platforms. So if you have the opportunity, have a look on this. It's pretty interesting. And this one I've been using quite a lot. The biggest example that I can use is the Microsoft Sentinel Copilot, I think it's called, or Copilot for Security, or something like that. Microsoft changes the name quite often on their stuff. So it's pretty much like a scene, like any other scene. But the difference is you have this extra layer of contextual that you can either create your queries in normal language. So if you never used a major seam or anything, it's a structured language that looks very similar to SQL, RQL, I think it's called. So it's you have to use some sort of language to interact with the logs, but with this tool on top of everything, you can use normal natural language to that agent, and that agent can translate that into an actual query to get the data. But also because this intermediator between the two also have the entire context of all the logs available, you can simply ask directly, like, find me where and a privileged account try to log in something that I usually don't log in. I have no idea how to write a query myself that will search the logs and do this, or like give me how many people logged in the last hour, how many were challenged with MFA, and from those, how many failed the MFA, the ones that fail MFA, where they came from. I have no idea how to write that myself in Sentinel, but I can ask that to that bot or agent, or whatever you want to call it, and that will make it happen in the background. But at the same time, trust but verify. I have an engineer from my team with me to double check if it actually makes sense, if it's a sound query. But yeah, so far, most of them worked really well.
Yeah, just adding to that. So for those who are not overly familiar with SIEM and security incident events, so a medium-sized company will get not 1 or 2 or 5 events a day. It's going to get millions of events a day, and that becomes a challenge, right? So as an agent, as a SOC analyst, how can you pick the right events to look at, right? So it's a, let's say, a never-ending challenge. Therefore, if you have a platform that helps you pick the actual events and correlate those events with past events, like, hey Adri, I've seen someone logging in from North Korea, and this person started accessing this particular system, and then they jumped to another system, and so on and so forth, because this platform can do that correlation, then you know you're probably investigating a potential security breach, right? As opposed to firewall logs, right? So this has been allowed, this has been prevented. So it's very exhausting. So this is absolutely awesome. I suppose you want me to jump to the next slide?
Yes, so that's my last, there's one slide after that, but this is the last part of the presentation. So I was thinking, like, it's really nice that we can show and keep learning, but AI is evolving really fast. If you haven't seen, I posted on LinkedIn this week or last week, there is a counter called something to AGI. So how close we are to AGI, doomsday clock of AGI, something like that. And 9 months ago, we were at 75%. And I looked the other day, and we are at 94% now. So we did a massive jump in 9 months. I saw in one of those Harvard research, they're saying that it was something like in 1991, they interviewed some researchers in this area, and the most optimistic said the technology would jump in 50 years, I think it was 1,000%. And they've done that math, and we jumped like 300,000%. So it's evolving really fast. So it's interesting to show what's happening now, but also it's in there in the future, because we might be able to see the actual future in real life in our lifetimes. So Microsoft and LinkedIn, they released very recently this work trends index. And one of the most interesting things in there was this frontier firm, they call it, where instead of like we have humans doing all the work like we're doing now, each human will be like a manager of a team or a squad of AIs. And it is pretty much like how managers work in big companies now. You have your team with your specialists, and if you need anything, you just delegate you make the strategy, and then you start delegating small pieces to sub teams and individuals in your team to do it. So I was playing with that idea, and I come up with this. So next slide, please. So how will the future company of the future will look like? So first, you get to your job 9 a.m. with your coffee, and then you have your Slack channel like you always have when you're in your company, and then you go to in the Slack channel for your team. You ask your employee number one, Sparky, look at my inbox. See, like, filter all the important emails that I have from all these other random newsletters and all these spam that I received all the time, and see if there's anything important, see if there's anything urgent, see if anyone is waiting for my response. Also, I just saw that we have a report to do. I'll also look at my meetings. Which meetings do I have today? Do I need to prepare? Is there anything I need to check before the meeting? Collect all this information and let me know once you get it. As soon as you finish with Sparky, you, in the same channel, you ask another of your coworkers, the data cruncher. So data cruncher, I just received these vulnerability reports. Go through all the items, see everything you can find, give me all the insights, and in the meantime, I'll be here building the strategy to remediate all this. So they are doing the legwork. They are trying to figure out what's going on. And at the same time, I'm just collecting this information. And pretty much I'm the maestro of an orchestra, and they are like playing their instruments, and I'm just like conducting everything. So while those two are working, I go to my third team member, the drafty Mac report face, and I ask, like, go speak with Sparky and DataCrunch. Sparky is seeing if there's anything important in my inbox. DataCruncher is looking at vulnerabilities. Go check with them what they find and build a report, because I have to present this to these two other teams. As soon as I finish with him, I'll go to the scheduler bot, which is also another team member in my Slack channel, and I ask the scheduler bot to go and speak with the scheduler bots of these other teams and figure out a place and a time where everyone's calendar line up. And because they have the full context of the company, they can move some meetings around and organize the calendar to be quiet and tidy, adding some breaks and things, everything like that. And they can see everyone's calendar. My scheduler bots can speak with the others scheduler bots. They can combine and get to a decision what time is the best for the group, and then put my email invite in everyone's inbox and attach the reporter, the report, the drafty Mac report phase generated based on the information about the other two. So it will be, like I said before, you have an orchestra and you are the maestro just making it work beautifully. And I think that's the end.
I think Sarah raised her hand. If
Yes,
not, I will raise my hand. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
yeah,
Sarah.
just a quick question. Like with AI enhanced threat detection systems, as we're seeing now, are we seeing any significant improvements in identifying the 0-day vulnerabilities before they're actually exploited? Or are the attacks still outspacing the defenders?
I've seen research paper testing those hypotheses. It is possible, but I don't think. I think there is still a bottleneck. I don't remember exactly what it is. The bottleneck, if it's the accuracy or simply price, because it requires a lot of resources. But I think it was 3, maybe 4 years ago. DARPA, one of the biggest US organizations, the company that created the internet, they created a capture the flag event, which is like those, you have a vulnerable server with vulnerabilities that were put in there on purpose. And they were using this to, like, each university brought their AI bot or the AI pen tester or whatever it was. And the idea was, DARPA was trying to test if it was possible to kind of like automate pen test, but run pretty much a 24/7 security assessment of everything. It was really impressive. If I remember correctly, I think it was Caltech that won. And their bots not just discovered all vulnerabilities and exploited all vulnerabilities on the system that were there on purpose, collected all the flags. He actually found a 0-day, wrote an exploit, got in, elevate privileges, patched all vulnerabilities, including the ones that were there on purpose for the capture the flag, collected everything and left. So he did that because he knew that all AIs could achieve 100% score. So the only way to be better than the other ones was if somehow prevented the other ones to get into the system in the first place. So, and discovered that by creating an exploit, getting in, patching everything so the other ones could not get there in time, and then collecting all the flags and leaving. So in theory, it's possible. There are scientific research pointing to things like that, but it's still very early days. And actually, because no one will be brave enough to put their wild in their companies. Someone did some experiments recently, and it went quite crazy.
Yeah, I would say with regards to 0-day, it's pretty much like a new disease, right? So you need someone to be infected first and see the reaction before you can build the antibodies to work against it. So if any engine sees something for the first time, it might raise it as a potential event, but you don't know until the whole cycle has taken place, right? So I think it's going to get better at guessing what's coming next and perhaps creating some vaccine against it, I would say. But I think that's the biggest challenge with 0 days, right? You don't know exactly where it's coming from, what it's doing, what the final outcome is until it happens. So
yeah,
that's an
there's
interesting
also
challenge.
ethical implications in that. So, for example, the same is being testing in like surveillance and like physical, like police work, physical security, as in police work. And they already notice that there are bias problems. For example, they can profile someone before they commit a crime just because they look like a criminal based on all the past criminals. And they already identified that it's pointing that because they are a specific minority or a specific ethnic group. So the technology itself probably already exists, but there's a bunch of different concerns that prevents us to get to that. But it's pretty close, I would say. It's just a matter of, like I said before, someone needs to figure out how it works and then tell everyone else. Hopefully, someone playing on the good side, discovering that first.
Awesome. Let me jump to the next one, David.
Yeah, it's
Oh, I had a question on this slide before we move on. So what are you actually doing between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. and 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.? Are you just sitting and watching it work? Because you could do this whole work in half an hour, right?
probably having a coffee or going to the water cooler to have some conversation.
pretending you're working.
Exactly. We still need to
Cool.
show that we are important. Or doing
Awesome.
research and playing with other things. But yeah, playing video games as well.
That's what I would do. Sorry, go ahead.
Cool. So a few interesting links for extra resources if you want to know more about that. I have that book in my top of my to-do list to read. It's being recommended by so many people, so I imagine it's good just by how many people recommended that to me. And also more credible sources. There's for research and news and what's going on. There's those three main websites that I'm using. The second one, the lifearchitect.ai. This is the countdown to AGI clock that I mentioned. And if you scroll down, there's the whole timeline of why they think we are at that number. And it has all this scientific research linked in there. Blogs, this guy, he's one of the main thought leadership in AI in general. He's been doing that for ages. Also on YouTube, Center of Humane Technology is pretty good. It's non-technical for most of the things. Theoretically, media is a little bit more technical. If I'm not mistaken, that guy works in the film industry, and he's playing a lot with AI. He already created a few short movies with AI, and they are mind-blowing. And he posts weekly videos showing like how to use each one of those AIs. Pretty interesting stuff. And if you want to play around, this platform fall.ai. So if you want to play with open source AI model, if you want to test the latest stuff, you have to compile and locally in your machine, and you need heaps of storage and probably a very powerful GPU. Most of us, we don't have that. So what do we do? Someone created that platform that looks kind of like AWS. Instead of cloud resources, they have AI models, and you pay on demand. So, for example, I want to generate deepfake videos. So they have the deepfake models. I train the models. It costs me a couple of dollars to train, and then I can keep running them. Or I want audio to video or image to video. They have a few in there as well. You pick whatever you want. Instead of having to compile and go through code, they have sliders. So you move the sliders where you want. Still quite expensive. I generated 20 images or so the other day just to see how it works. And it cost me like $20 or so. So be careful, but you can go there and pretty much explore everything that existed. I think they have around 3,000 different AI models for different things. So everything you can imagine is in there. So at least worth it once to jumping in, create an account, put like $50 and just play around with them just to see what they are capable of.
Yeah, and the platform that this friend of mine was showing me this morning is called N8N. So just search for N8N on Google, and it's basically an automation platform. And the type of things you can do is, as David mentioned, if you connect it to your, let's say, Gmail mailbox, you can go through your emails and create a summary of the emails you received on that particular day, or you can ask it to bring me any emails that mention cybersecurity, or you can even, an idea that this friend of mine has given me was search or receive feeds for these particular cybersecurity channels, compile them, and send me a summary, a daily summary of news that are relevant to me on a regular basis. So it's totally amazing, and it's just limited by how creative you are with this. So having said that, any questions? So you guys know this is a safe space. If you have any questions, even if it sounds a bit silly, it's not silly at all. It's better to ask your question here than learning the hard way. Okay, Sarah, she just said, in upskilling in AI for cyber, which pathways and courses would you recommend as a must do?
Honestly, I don't know. No one knows. We are still discovering as we go. And the time that it takes to build a proper structured training material, once you release the course, the information is already outdated because technology is evolving so fast. And I know that because I tried and I wanted to create something like that. But once I finished drafting, 90% of everything I wrote was already useless. So I would say steer away of courses and training and things like that. This is pros and cons of being in like a bleeding edge of technology. You have to, one, go to the harder sources like scientific research, academic research, books, or people that are doing that, and they can show you, like those YouTube channels that I showed, and then figure out by yourself as you go, and then teaching other people as you go as well. Because if you go to a course, once you finish, the whole knowledge will be kind of outdated already.
Yeah. So to your point, David, I think it's still early days, right? So people are still discovering how to use it. Of course, you have people that know LLM and how to develop an LLM platform and so forth, which is the engine, right? But actually using it, I highly encourage you guys to explore. So Juliano is asking about the tool. So it's called N8N. I'm not sure if it's N8N.ai. It's something like that. But that's a very good tool for you to start, right? So create an account. I just created an account this morning. It's free. And it basically gives you it has a few tutorials that tells you this is how you read your emails. This is how you connect or integrate with Telegram or WhatsApp. And some of the things this platform can do, automation, for example, let's say if you're a business and someone sends a query to the website or via WhatsApp to your business, it can process the question, it can come up with answers, but it can sit and wait until you review the answers so you can answer it yourself. But it gives you 3 options. And I was like, mate, that's absolutely insane. It's replacing or doing the job of like 4 or 5 different people within a business, right? So I strongly encourage you guys to give it a try.
Yeah, also another thing that it's interesting to kind of reflect about. So now what we are saying is just go and play and see how AI works, because that will be a big shift in the future. So look back, people that older than us that didn't use smartphones, they have no clue how to use it, like my grandma, for example. They have no clue how to use smartphones. because they were using normal phones or even like home phones. And one day they released smartphones, but they didn't follow through it. So it's completely alien to them. Same like in the 80s and 90s when computer and the internet was created, people that started playing with computers at that time, they are now what we call computer literates. And I think it was Harvard Business Review that they created an article saying we have IQ, which is a part of how to explain intelligence, but it's not everything, because we also have EQ, which is emotional intelligence. And also they are creating a third one. They are trying to coin a third one called digital intelligence or something like that. It is the DQ, which is pretty much is how literates you are with the technology in front of you, because it will evolve so fast. If you don't continue evolving with it, it will be alien for you the same way smartphones might be alien for your parents, and computers for your grandparents. So it's just the next step that we need to continue go through. Otherwise, we're going to stay behind.
Yeah, I think it's the sad reality that it's going to become the entry point for any job, right? Either you know it or you're left behind. Because most of you, if you're looking to enter into the cyberspace or any career, if you know AI, you are a step ahead. But it's only a matter of time for everyone applying for a job to know enough AI to be at the same level as you, right? So I think we still have the advantage of being in the forefront of it. We might always keep, let's say, one step ahead of the people that are joining the industry and the markets after us. But I think it's not going to be an advantage for too long. So soon, pretty much everyone knows how to use a mobile phone, right? A smartphone. Therefore, it's no longer an advantage. So I strongly recommend you guys to spend some time, investigate, learn about it, make mistakes, and most importantly, use LinkedIn to show that you doing some work in this space, you're interested, self-promote, don't be ashamed about that. Like, I took this training course on AI, or this is a prototype I put together. That's pretty much how you guys are gonna stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, and this is actually one of the origin stories of cybersecurity as a whole, as an industry. So one of the origin stories is coming from the military, which all of them are partially true. But another one was just people in universities, a little bit on the anarchist side, just trying to get like a free space where they can do whatever they wanted. And they started discovering that they can do and expand that to other people's computers and to the whole network. And people realize that, wait a minute, we need to protect ourselves, and at least we are protected so they don't do these funny things with us. And it becomes an industry, and we all work in that. So it will be a similar thing with the AI now.
That's right. Awesome. David, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us and your time as well. Thanks all for joining us today. Hopefully this was a productive session. I'm going to be posting the video on YouTube soon and sharing the link with you. But if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out to David via LinkedIn or me also via LinkedIn. It was great to have you, mate. Thank you so much for your help.
Thank you all. Anytime.
Thank
I'd love to
you.
chat about that.